pleasant day to you all, my fellow countrymen. My name is William Julio, and today I will convince you as to why you should vote me as the president in the 2016 presidential elections. What prompted me to run for presidency was the urge to create an educated society that takes up the responsibility to prudently make decisions for themselves and for the betterment of the nation. As the former administration's DILG secretary, I believe that compared to my peers, it is I who has the necessary experience to bring up the society from the poverty that ails it, which I believe is wrought by the government itself. I believe that only by promoting an educated society are we finally able to solve this long prevalent poverty and rid of the corruption that causes it. With the limited access we have to education today, both uneducated and impoverished individuals have limited options for a job that requires professional expertise and certification, thus preventing them from acquiring financial sustenance. I believe this to be fact due to research that state that 7.1% of the population were considered financially unstable at the end of the year 2014, who in fact largely consisted of unlearned individuals that had dropped out of school in their formative years. Additionally, although the national budget for the Department of Education is already at 18.6%, our nation has had the highest unemployment rates among all of the Southeast Asian nations. So why have poverty and unemployment rates been so high if enough funds have been given to the sector of education? I believe the misuse of government funds and practices of graft are of the main causes. Only in the past 2 years have we seen the extent of this graft in the form of the so-called pork barrel scam. In the said scam, billions of pesos worth of funds were extorted for the private use of unjust government officials. This concludes just how trends of corruption and scandalous misuse of government budget may lead to deprive the education sector of its needed funding, hindering its efforts in improving the educational system. The problem lies not in the Department of Budget Management's ability to allocate funds to provide education for all individuals, which may alleviate a number of them from poverty, but lies within the long-standing problem of corruption. Immoral officials will always pounce at the opportunity to take what they can and when they can get away with it. In our nation's political history, as a self-governing nation, the formation of political dynasties have always been the norm. As a matter of fact, 70% of the nation's current Congress are made up of these dynasties. But in the use of this political practice, cases of graft among closely related individuals have always been inevitable. Although this has always been the case, the Senate has not passed any bill that would dissolve these parties. To solve this issue, my course of action would resemble how 18th century Britain had dealt with its rotted boroughs. I would pass the long-awaited anti-dynasty bill so as to promote proper distribution of seats among the various sectors of the government. I believe that the dissolution of these dynasties will help promote transparency within the government, and as a result, the various departments within the government, such as the Department of Education, can freely use the respective funds assigned to them. This will then allow more individuals to have a better chance of acquiring jobs that could alleviate them from the financial troubles they may be in. In case the said course of actions are not to be taken, rates of poverty will increase drastically, and in the long run, the education sector will need more priority due to foreseen rises in the population in the coming years. Recent studies suggest that by the year 2030, the labor force would have already increased by 20,000 more people, and without the necessary funds to create more facilities to educate the masses, a fairly large portion of the population wouldn't be able to receive the education needed to acquire decent paying jobs. And as a result, there would be a surge in pre-existing poverty rates. Aside from the intensified poverty, cases of graft and corruption wouldn't be addressed and would promote a culture of dishonesty within the government. Given how easily guilty officials get dropped of their charges in the present, future officials would most likely have the audacity to do the same because of how easily they can get away with their misdeeds. In short, if heightened activities of graft and corruption remain prevalent in the national government, funds, especially for education, would not be used to their full potential, and in the long run, affect the economy due to the lack of skilled individuals. To summarize my cause in being elected as president, what I aim to tackle is the corruption that ails the government and the poverty that becomes a subsequent result of it. I envision an educated society which will progress in different fields under the intellectual capability of each turned individual, free of the limitations that poverty imposes. Again, to achieve this, forms of corruption such as political dynasties are needed to be moderated and monitored by the administration. I believe that being true to values and morals is what really matters, and if I am elected as president, I will enforce this idea within the government and prioritize the masses and their betterment. I will do my best in bringing out the intellectual capability of the nation through provided and quality education and make sure that corruption does not strip them of this right. So if you vote for me as president, not only do you vote for your own betterment, you vote for the benefit of the whole entire nation. Thank you very much.